The New York Mets season ended on Sunday night as the Amazins suffered a 6-0 loss to the San Diego Padres at Citi Field in Game 3 of their wild card round series. The co-host of the Amazing But True podcast, Jake Brown, he's watched a ton of Mets games at Citi Field this season. He's done a ton of Mets videos with me as well, and he joins me for another. Jake, I last saw you on Saturday night, and when we left, we were smiling. Are you smiling today?
It felt like I just listened to Nickelback's worst hits album, like just all their worst songs. And or like Linkin Park, like I just in a state of depression, not smiling. Season's over. It felt like the positivity I had after starting to eat well after talking to my dietitian to a week later eating chicken parm 3 times a week again. That's how it feels, Dex.
Oh, that does not sound good at all. But we got to talk about the Mets and look back at the season. So, Jake, when you look back at this season, 101 wins for the team. They lose in the wild card round. So looking back, how do you assess the 2022 season for the Amazins?
Dex, the regular season was incredible. It was one of arguably the most memorable season of my life. But the season at whole stinks. You lose in the wild card. You know, I said all year I was positive that they'll go to the World Series. They're going to win the World Series. But you lose in the best 2 or 3 wild card. It's tough. You know, in this moment today, it's tough to be positive and put a positive spin. Maybe in another day or two, I'll be like, you know what? There's a positive spin. This team was fun. It was great. They did better than last year. You know, they went to the playoffs. But once again, we're hanging up a 2022 NL wild card banner, not even wild card winner, wild card appearance banner. It's a participation trophy almost. And there are a lot of good things to take away, and we'll get into the good. But overall, as a whole, it's a tough pill to swallow when you win the second most games in franchise history and you're golfing on October 10th. I mean, it's tough to stomach that if you're a Mets fan when you were the better team than the Padres, or you thought you were, and you went out and got one freaking hit against Joe Musgrove. You didn't do it against Yu Darvish. You didn't do it against a Hall of Famer. You did it against a guy who was an all-star, had a bad second half. But Joe Musgrove, man, it's tough.
Yeah, tough day for Mets fans all around. Now, the Mets, they do have some notable players, Jake, who could leave in free agency. You got Jacob deGrom, Edwin Diaz, Chris Bassett, and Brandon Nimmo. Do the fans want all these players to return in 2023?
Yeah, Steve Cohen is a busy offseason, and so does Billy Epler. Billy Epler's got a lot to prove after a lackluster trade deadline that saw his Padres get guys. The Mets didn't, and now we saw who ended out on top. So Jacob deGrom, let's start with him. The Mets are going to offer him all the money in the world. I mean, let's be real. Steve Cohen would be a fool to not offer him a big deal. The question is, does he want to stay here? I can't answer that. I can't say definitively that Jacob deGrom wants to stay in New York. Look how many times he pitched great. The Mets didn't give him run support. I don't know. That's a toss-up, but I think they're going to offer him a lot. Edwin Diaz, you have to bring back. I mean, Edwin Diaz was one of the heart and souls of this team. You have to bring him back and make him your closer. And I can definitively say, because he said it, that he really wants to be here. So I'd be shocked if Edwin Diaz isn't a Met. Jacob deGrom, I say 70-30. He's a Met versus not. I just think if someone offers the similar or same elsewhere, like a Braves or somewhere, he might want to shove it to the Mets and go there. Chris Bassett, listen, he's got a mutual option. I don't see him getting a ton more if he goes elsewhere. If the Mets say, hey, we'll do it for the 1 year for $19 million, I just don't see why he would turn that down. Maybe have another great year and then go get, 5 years, 200 or 100, whatever it is. So I'd like to see Bassett one more year. I think Mets fans could live without him. Brandon Nimmo is an intriguing case because me and Figgy talked about this on Amazing But True. There aren't a lot of elite outfielders out there. There's just not. So you might have to bring him back just for the sake of, unless you're getting Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the one better guy, but there's like a Michael Brantley. It's Dickerson. I mean, it's a lot of guys who are like fringe outfielders on this list. So I think you got to bring Nimmo back for the fact there isn't a suitable replacement. If you get Judge, you walk Brandon Nimmo to the airport, you get him a new car, do whatever you got to do. But if it's not Judge, you're probably going to have to bring Brandon Nimmo back. Taijuan Walker, I don't think it's going to be worth it to give him a 5-year, $100 million deal. You live with him going, but Diaz has to be back. I think you got to give deGrom a premium offer. And by process of elimination with the guys out there, you got to bring Brandon Nimmo back. Great player, but and a good center fielder this year. I'm not like obsessed with bringing him back, but just because there's no one else, unless you're getting Judge, you got him.
All right, we'll see how free agency goes for the Mets. Now, really quick, this season ended with another disappointing finish for manager Buck Showalter in the playoffs. So when you look at the turnaround for the Mets this year under the ownership of Steve Cohen, are you optimistic about the culture and future of this team in 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, that's where I could be positive. You know, the season overall, it stunk, but they have the money, they have the owner. You know, Steve Cohen, wherever he is right now, is furious. You know, his response is, I'm going to spend all the money I can to make this a winner, and they have to do more. Steve Cohen has shown, I'll go out and get guys. His $43 million, guy pooped the bed. He gave him 7 runs in a big game one that really set the tone for this series to potentially go poorly. So Steve Cohen's going to do what they have to do. Buck Showalter proved he is a manager, a great manager that the players love. You know, there were many times you couldn't blame him for a lot of decisions he made. He made a lot of good decisions. We didn't question him a ton. Down the stretch, you question him when you start losing and the division started to slip away. But that's just, I think, by the fact that Mets fans were pissed off and they were mad that they weren't going to win the division. And think if they win one more game, another game turns, you look at a decision made here, decision made there. Maybe we're previewing the NLDS right now and not even talking about the wild card. So I think the manager is in place. The owner is in place. You know, the next up's the team president. Do they get a Theo Epstein? Do they get a Stearns? Do they go out and get a team president that could get this team and help out Epler and get this team in the right direction as well? That's going to be a big question, but you got to be positive about the future. They won 101 games. The culture's in place. The manager's in place. There's just pieces here and there that need to be added to the puzzle to get this team over the hump, over the top, especially a designated hitter. So I do think Mets fans should be optimistic about the future. If you're mad today, you deserve to be. Be pissed off today. Be mad. Take a couple of days, maybe take a vacation, take a week off, go to a tropical island. Save some money for a few weeks from avoiding high tickets and beers that you paid at Citi Field. Take a break. But at 2023 and beyond, the future is bright for the New York Mets.
All right. See, I like that, Jake. I feel good for you now. You had some optimism here at the end for the Mets fans and yourself. But I'm sure next year, 2023, you're going to be back at Citi Field with all the optimism that you can have. That is Jake Brown, co-host of the Amazing But True podcast. Jake, as always, thank you for your time.
I'm going to go walk into incoming traffic now, but Dex, I hope I see you next year.
You will see me next year. All right, man. Be well.